This nibble originally aired on RSBANDB Update, episode 892, Raids, Death, and Taxes. Enjoy. When Corruption Blast and Corruption Shot were first announced, we were very pleased with them then. They still form the basis of pretty much every ranged and magic rotation.
They've been bumped off their throne, but for 5-6 years, they were the strongest available basic ability for magic and ranged. And they've been dethroned slightly by GCONC and by GRICO and a few other things, but of the base abilities you have access to, for stuff that's only 40 mil and not crazy expensive like GRICO, they're very, very powerful, and still very pleased with that. The next, Storm Shards and Shatter.
Mr. Beaster was very happy with these on release.
Yeah, and I would say currently they're probably the least useful of the abilities. There are certain places where you need them, and that's very much an endgame type of a scenario, right? Storm Shards and Shatter, the way that they work, you stack Storm Shards, so the Storm Shards have a cooldown, but they build up on your target, and they persist on many bosses that transition between phases. For example, Raksha, Virago, similar. They don't work on Yaka, I don't believe. What bosses that have very large health pools where you need burst damage, the Shatter ability consumes all stacks of Storm Shards to do incredibly massive damage hits. So in places where you needed burst and you have a while to do setup, or a large number of people who can all apply Storm Shards because Storm Shards are tracked globally. So if 5 different people apply Storm Shards, the boss has 5 shards on it. And then only one person needs to Shatter. The actual damage you get from the ability solo and for like individual content, fairly low. Like these are niche use for when you need that burst. But situations like Telos, Virago, a number of other places, they're great in terms of putting out damage on a like delayed basis to say, I'm going to save some damage, do less damage now to do more damage later. That's what those have become.
Onslaught is the interesting one.
Yeah, Onslaught's the last ability here. Onslaught is similarly niche, right? Where you need to do massive burst damage or where you need to finish off a target or similar, right? We have gotten additional sources of burst, looking at you, Fractured Staff, since this came out, where Onslaught is no longer your best potential option for burst damage. But for the longest time, the way that Onslaught works is it does progressive hits, and each hit does increasing damage to an almost ridiculous degree, but each hit takes 25% of your adrenaline. When you run out of adrenaline, you start taking, I think it's a quarter or 10% or something of the value of the damage you deal as self-damage, as reflection back onto you. And then when you get to hits above 10, so like the 11th hit, 12th hit, etc., each hit additionally adds 1,000 extra reflection damage back to you. So if you manage to survive 12 hits, that 12th hit will hit you for a quarter of the damage dealt, which is massive at that point because you're doing so much damage, as well as 2,000 additional damage. So it becomes like, it will kill you. And the ability does have the ability to kill you if you just channel it.
Oh, yeah.
But it can do 50, 60,000 damage within a short time frame, very short time frame, and can be a good way to burst through things like Nex's Blood Phase for people that are learning Nex, for places like the Stun Pool on Yakamaru for those with that Saradomin Godbow spec, or Saren Godbow spec, wow. Saradomin Godbow spec does something very different. So, again, use of Onslaught, niche, burst damage, third phase on Telos, Red Beam, great use of it as well. But not something you use in like Slayer or your typical PVMing.
You can find full episodes of RSBANDB Update right here on this YouTube channel. If you found this video useful or just enjoyed it, like and subscribe, or leave a comment.